Have you ever wondered why some people walk into a room and suddenly all eyes are on them? Without saying a word, they seem interesting, fascinating, and almost magnetically attractive. And then there are others who are just as present, but no one really notices them. But what is the difference in the way these people present themselves? This question has been asked not only by psychologists and managers, but also by countless people for decades. What makes people charismatic? And can anyone really become charismatic? The good news is that charisma is not a mysterious gift you are born with. It is a combination of specific behaviors that you can train, just like a muscle. So I'm going to show you what the building blocks of charisma really are, how you can implement them step by step, and how you can use them to gain more attention, respect, and sympathy from everyone. But before we get to the tactics, let's first clarify what charisma really is. Charisma is generally the interplay of presence, self-confidence, and warmth. These are three signals that reach the other person at the same time. If one of them is missing, the impression is ruined. For example, warmth without self-confidence comes across as nice but insecure. And self-confidence without warmth comes across as impressive but cold. That's why it's often compared to a magnet. You attract others when self-confidence and warmth come together with genuine presence. To understand this more clearly, let's take a closer look at these three components. Let's start with presence, the foundation. Presence does not mean talking a lot, but really listening and holding the moment. In practical terms, this means put your cell phone away, turn your body completely toward the other person, maintain eye contact for 3 to 5 seconds, nod briefly, speak 5% slower than usual, and consciously pause. One exercise that has an immediate effect is breathe in for 4 seconds, breathe out for 6 seconds, lower your shoulders, plant both feet firmly on the ground, and only then start speaking. You will notice how your voice becomes calmer and your words gain weight. Next comes self-confidence. It starts quietly, with your posture, your pace, and your tone. Stand or sit upright, shoulders down and chin neutral. Formulate clearly, eliminate filler words such as actually or so to speak, and use pauses instead of justifying yourself. Stop apologizing for little things like, sorry to interrupt, and replace that with clear introductions such as, let's get to the point. And finally, warmth is the crucial difference between being impressive and truly appealing. Remember names. Ask an honest, specific question such as, what attracted you most to this project? And give a small, concrete compliment such as, you explain complex things amazingly clearly. Also, mirror your counterpart's choice of words by picking up on keywords and mentioning a small commonality within the first 60 to 90 seconds. A little known but very effective strategy is the NTF formula for warm feedback. Mention the name, then the topic, and then the focus. For example, Jane, I particularly liked how clearly you prioritize the steps in your explanation of the schedule. On the other hand, avoid generic compliments like, you're great, and unsolicited advice, as both weaken the feeling of warmth. But to ensure that these three building blocks don't remain just theory, you need an amplifier, storytelling. Facts convince the head, but stories hold attention, and that's exactly what makes charismatic people so appealing. Let's take an everyday scene. You're telling a friend about the moment before a presentation. Instead of saying, I was nervous, tell it in a way that makes them feel it. There were 2 minutes left before I went on stage. My hands were cold, the projector was humming, and someone in the third row was coughing quietly. At that moment, I took a deep breath and started. This example shows how images, feelings, and decisions come together, and why storytelling makes such a huge difference. If you want to learn how to structure arguments and stories in a way that people intuitively follow you, then be sure to watch my video on how to win any argument, even if you're wrong. You can find the link to the video at the top right and in the video description. But first, let's look at the 3 typical charisma killers and see how to avoid them. The first is over-explaining. If you qualify every sentence with, I just mean, or maybe I'm wrong, you convey uncertainty. It's better to use short, clear sentences followed by a pause. Second, status avoidance. You make yourself small by laughing too quickly, sitting down before others do, or constantly agreeing. Maintain your composure. Take up space. Sit or stand steadily, and keep your gaze calm. And third, artificial dominance. Being loud, fast, and interrupting others may seem powerful in the short term, but in the long term, it comes across as unpleasant. Charisma arises when strength and warmth are felt simultaneously. If you found value up to this point, I'd appreciate your support by subscribing and giving this video a thumbs up. Your input matters, so feel free to share your thoughts or suggest topics that interest you in the comments section below. But we're not done yet, so let's keep going. Now let's answer the question from the beginning. Imagine you walk into a room full of strangers. What should you do to come across as charismatic? It's simple. Step 1. Establish your presence by taking a conscious breath, dropping your shoulders, and scanning the room with a warm, brief smile. Step 2. Make a confident introduction. Say something clear instead of beating around the bush. For example, "Hi, I'm John. I wanted to talk to you briefly because..." Step 3. Show warmth. You can do this by asking a specific question that signals genuine interest, such as, "What brought you here today?" Or, "What are you working on right now that excites you?" Step 4. Hint at a mini-story. In other words, a sentence that arouses curiosity, such as, "I did an experiment on exactly that last week." This opens up a small loop that keeps your conversation partner engaged. And while you're speaking, think about the rhythm. Slow down by 5%, pause, and breathe. The same principle applies to presentations, by the way. First, be present. Maintain eye contact in triangles with one thought per glance. Second, be confident. Formulate clear core messages in one sentence, such as, "Today we're talking about X because Y, and in the end, you can Z." Third, show warmth. That means naming people. For example, "Jane made an important point earlier." This allows you to express brief gratitude, give honest recognition, and immediately make yourself much more likable. But what if nervousness takes away your voice? It's simple. Use the 4-6 breathing technique I showed you earlier. Breathe in for 4 seconds, breathe out for 6 seconds, and only then start speaking. Combine this with a mini pause at the beginning of the sentence, and your voice will immediately gain calmness and clarity. This acts as a frame setter and increases your authority without volume. Another powerful trick that always works is what is known as status harmony. This involves mirroring not just gestures, but also the energy level of the person you are talking to. If the person is calm and thoughtful, you also enter more calmly and only increase your energy once a connection is noticeable. If the person is lively, meet them briefly at this level and then lead them at your own pace. This way, you never feel above or below them, but always in sync and in control. To help you not only understand all this, but also truly internalize and apply it, I have put together a short 7-day routine for you. On days 1 and 2, you train your presence. This means that in every conversation, you consciously speak more slowly and pause for a moment. On days 3 and 4, it's time to work on your self-confidence. Break down every statement into a clear sentence and remove all filler words. On days 5 and 6, you focus on warmth. Every day, give someone a specific compliment and ask them a specific question. And on day 7, you practice storytelling. This means telling a 30-second story from your everyday life that includes an image, a feeling, and a decision. After this 1 week, you will have laid the foundation in your body and not just in your head. Because if you consistently do these exercises for a week, you will feel how your gaze radiates more confidence and your voice takes on a calmness that your conversation partners will immediately notice. For the perfect finishing touch, you can also keep a little charisma journal. Write 3 short lines per day. What situation? How did I show presence, self-confidence, and warmth? And what will I improve next time? This will anchor your progress in your body and not just in your head. Also pay attention to microsignals such as, how often does your gaze wander? How fast do you speak when you become uncertain? And what words do you use to buy time? Simply becoming aware of this reduces the frequency without any additional effort. An additional secret trick is social calibration. Observe the dynamics in the room. Who leads? Who follows? Who mediates? First address the person who seems most attentive, and then expand the contact. Maintain a balance between sending and receiving. A thought, a pause, and a question. If you notice that someone is tuning out, bring them back into the conversation with a mini story or a specific question. Charismatic people are not exciting because they talk constantly, but because they set the pace of a conversation. Charisma is therefore not something mystical, but a skill that anyone can train, step by step, in everyday life, in conversations, and in presentations. If you do the little exercises and pay close attention to your impact, you will notice how you are winning people over more and more easily. And best of all, the more you practice, the more natural and effortless it becomes. I really hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful. Post your thoughts in the comments box below and check out our other videos. Have fun with it and see you next time.